Mercedes shocked everyone with their impressive performance at last weekend's Canadian Grand Prix. George Russell had managed to sneak his way onto the podium a few times this season, but they never looked like serious contenders for a race win. But in Canada, the team's double podium showed that when the track suits a team this season, the competition is close enough that anyone can make the most of it. While Toto Wolff will want to celebrate that win for the next 2 weeks, he might have other problems to deal with. George Russell's contract runs out at the end of this season, and with Wolff flirting with Max Verstappen to try and get him into the seat, Russell's head is being turned elsewhere. Today, I'll check out Mercedes' impressive performance in Canada and how George Russell is now at the center of transfer rumors, so don't go anywhere. Mercedes' performance at the Canadian Grand Prix came out of nowhere. In the opening 9 races this season, we'd only seen 3 winners: Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, and Max Verstappen. In addition, over those 9 races, those 3 had taken second place on 7 occasions, with George Russell and Charles Leclerc picking up the other 2. What I'm trying to say is that the 2 McLarens and Max had dominated the front of the grid so far, with there being essentially no chance of anyone else getting a race win. In Canada though, the track characteristics changed everything. The McLaren's normally impressive speed was hampered by the lack of a mid-corner phase. With basically every corner in Canada being made up of a heavy braking zone followed by a strong acceleration phase, they never had a chance to leverage their impressive grip and tyre temperature management, making them look very mortal. That opened the door to Mercedes. George Russell said after the race that he feels like he's driving better than ever after winning his first race of the season at the Canadian Grand Prix. The Mercedes driver, who started on pole, held the lead from Max Verstappen at the start and controlled the race from that point. Russell also started on pole in Montreal last year, but could only finish 3rd. It feels a bit of a redemption compared to last year because I was really disappointed with my performance last year and we should have won, he told Sky Sports. It was my mistakes that let the team down, but I'm in a different place right now and I feel like I'm driving better than ever. I felt pretty chilled throughout the whole race. It wasn't just Russell who impressed in Canada though. Andrea Kimi Antonelli joined Mercedes this season as an incredibly promising youngster after a junior career that was filled with an almost unbelievable amount of titles and trophies. However, at only 18 years old and with only a season in F2, his lack of experience with the more powerful open-wheel cars has shown. His performances had been good without being impressive, and 5 points finishes in 9 races was acceptable without being promising. In Canada though, at 18 years and 294 days old, Antonelli became the 3rd youngest podium finisher of all time behind Max Verstappen and Lance Stroll. Having overtaken Oscar Piastri through turn 2, he controlled his pace throughout the race, and despite Piastri coming within a second of him over the closing stages of the race, managed to hold on for a first podium finish. Asked if there was an explanation as to Mercedes' dominance around a track where the expected cooler conditions, known to favour Mercedes, had failed to materialise, Wolff said, "We've had some things changing on the car. We have a new rear suspension. I'm really happy how the team has managed that. The trackside team, and also back in the factory, how these things have been coming onto the car. But I guess you need to look at the track layout. Montreal was always good to us. It lacks the typical high-speed corners where we suffer more in the heat. That's one, and number 2, it's quite a smooth asphalt here, which is less abrasive and therefore less damaging to our car that suffers from rear tyre degradation and overheating. Essentially, the thing that made it harder for McLaren to exert their power made it perfect for Mercedes. When tyre overheating is less of a risk, Mercedes have some serious pace, but when it does become a worry, that is when McLaren's impressive tyre temperature management can take over." Russell's performance impressed in Canada. In fact, he's been impressing the grid throughout his career with some incredible performances for Williams and then matching up to Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes. Despite that though, Mercedes have let his contract get to the point that in 14 races' time, he'll be a free agent. The problem for Toto Wolff has been Max Verstappen and his situation at Red Bull. Now though, his wandering eyes may be about to cost him his prize driver. But before I talk about that, if you're enjoying the video and don't want to miss anything that happens in this season of Formula 1, then make sure to press that like button and subscribe to F1 Reverse. Thanks a lot. So next season is a massive one for the future of Formula 1. Brand new engines will be paired up with new aerodynamic regulations, completely changing the competitive order of the sport and offering huge opportunities to teams looking to climb the championship standings. It's also a big chance for the drivers as well. They'll be trying to guess who will be the dominant team in the new regulations and work out a way to get onto their roster. One team that has a massive question mark over just how good they will be is Aston Martin. They'll be moving from a Mercedes engine to a Honda one, which, if you believe the rumors about Mercedes having a strong power unit for the new regulations, could be a downgrade. But by being the only customer of the Honda engine, they will be gaining a big advantage. When buying Mercedes power units, Aston Martin has absolutely no say over how that power unit is built, what shape it is, and how it interacts with the rear suspension. Due to how tightly packed an F1 car is, the power unit basically decides what the entire back end of the car looks like and how your rear suspension is laid out. Aston Martin at the moment are very heavily constrained over what they can do. But with a Honda engine specifically made for their car, they can dictate what shape it is, how it interacts with the rear end of the car, and build whatever it is their designers envisage. One designer in particular that will be very happy about the switch is Adrian Newey. Recently hired by Aston Martin, Newey brings the X factor to the team's factory and could be a difference maker in the new regulations. When you're making the kind of investment that Aston Martin is and hiring the caliber of staff that Newey is, you want to have drivers that you know can deliver if you provide the right machinery for them. George Russell has proven throughout his career that he is not only fast on a Saturday, but he can also back it up with his race performances on a Sunday. And Mercedes dithering over whether to get him a new contract or not has given Aston Martin an opening. Autosport are now reporting that their sources within the paddock tell them that Russell is Aston Martin's target to lead the team into the new regulations in 2026. Russell is out of contract at the end of the year with Mercedes and yet to sign a new deal. He was asked about how his victory in Montreal would impact his contract negotiations with Mercedes. He said, "It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all. But as I've said many times, I'm not concerned at all about next year. I know I'm going to be on the grid." Russell's confidence is well placed. He will be on the grid next season, whether it is at Mercedes or elsewhere. A driver of his quality will always end up with a drive if he wants one. Russell has said a number of times that he wants to remain loyal to Mercedes as the team gave him his chance to get to F1 and have supported him throughout. But Toto Wolff's very public flirting with Max Verstappen creates a problem. Antonelli is the driver for the future. Russell is the driver for now. But with his contract up at the end of the season and Max Verstappen potentially removable from Red Bull, it's hard to make a case for keeping Russell if Wolff can sign Max. When questioned about Toto's very public pursuit of Verstappen, George said, "There haven't been any hard feelings with any of the talks that have been going around, especially around Max because, like I said numerous times, why wouldn't teams be interested in Max? If everybody could, if every driver had a clean, no contracts for next year, Max would be the number one for every single team, and that's understandable." How could there be no hard feelings though? Your boss clearly would prefer another driver in your seat for 2026, and that must be making George think twice about his position. With Wolff being so brazenly open in his pursuit of Verstappen, it would be stupid of George to not assess his options elsewhere. Also, Aston Martin would offer a very lucrative option. Backed by Middle East money, they have a lot more to offer than Mercedes do in terms of contract payments, especially with one-third owners of Mercedes team Ineos being on the brink of bankruptcy, with multiple court cases against them for missed sponsorship payments by some massive sports teams, including the New Zealand national rugby team and Premier League football team Tottenham Hotspur. If George were to make a move, it would mean more money, a future with a team that may respect him more than Toto appears to, and the chance at driving in a car designed by the most successful designer the sport has ever known. That doesn't sound too bad to me. But what do you think? Could George be tempted away from Mercedes by Aston Martin? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you haven't already, then make sure to check out f1reverse.com to get yourself some sweet F1 inspired gear. Until next time, drive safe and bye for now.